the results will speak for themselves. On an alternate mode of communication, we on our first meeting we have already spoke about that. We ourselves are seeking an alternate mode of internal communications that we hope will streamline the process. But at the end of the day, we are looking at other options than just Facebook to talk to the student government, to the student body.
So I think two things to solve this, to resolve, hopefully, and mitigate this political apathy. The first one is visibility, and the second one is credibility. So I think in terms of visibility, I think people still don't know what the student government is, why the student government exists, even though it's been 2 years. And so I think one way that I personally will solve this, I personally will hope to resolve this issue is to hold office hours. So I was holding office hours as part of my campaign at the Battery earlier, at the Agora earlier. And I think what I will do as president is to really host a weekly or bi-weekly lunch office hours where I will sit at Elm or Saga or Shindana and just really have students come up to me to tell me issues if they like. And I think I think we cannot expect students to come to us any longer, but I think it's more of going out there into the community, really seeking what the students want, what they need, what issues they want to be resolved, and then coming back to them with the solution and have this two-way process. And onto the second point of credibility, so I agree that communicating the strengths of the government, the achievements of the government is really crucial. So the government, I think, does a lot of work. It's a lot of hard work. But I think this is not communicated enough to the people, to the student body, so the student body do not realize exactly what the student government does. And I think communicating this on a different platform would be much better. And one of the platforms that we discussed about would be potentially perhaps the Octon or a newsletter. These are just ideas in the works. And we are still considering, and we will talk with the respective people. Yeah. So I think two main things: visibility and credibility.
Okay, thank you, Alex.
Yeah. As a leader, you don't want the people under you to be miserable. How will you make student government fun and enjoyable?
Okay, just to reiterate for the camera, under student government, life can be miserable. How would you make it fun and enjoyable for the people underneath you? Directed at the presidents or everything?
Yeah, the presidents in particular.
Presidents in particular.
So a big part of leadership to me is also looking out for the team. And I mean, this is throughout even our RCAC and basketball team, understanding where people's personal development fits into this larger visions of team. So we don't want to get to actions and deliverables with losing what it means to come together, what the human key relationships that are really important as part of working together as a team. We don't want people dragging their feet to student government meetings. We want people to set that if we want it to be a priority, then people need to come because they know that they're accountable to other people's time, and they know that when they're there, it's going to be productive, it's going to be a fun meeting. And I feel like under my leadership, I know how to have a good time while still delivering results. So, Sasa?
So the culture of care that I talk about in my platforms, it extends to the student body, but I think first and foremost, it's the student government. So I believe that a happy student government can lead to a happy student body. So I really believe in having people who are working with me to really be doing what they like to maximize their potential, and so I'll provide the necessary support, the necessary guidance. And as the founder and president of Kids Accomplish, during my term, we were actually one of the few student organizations who met DOS to talk about how we can improve welfare in Kids Accomplish. And not only that, we were the only student organization at Yale NUS to have welfare packs for everyone at the end of the semester. And so this was something that the NUS Student Union does, but I think Yale NUS does to a much lesser extent. And so I think having that really reinvigorated our volunteers. And I think this was something which I really realized the importance of it, because we are dealing with volunteers. Volunteers are the core of Kids Accomplish. And so I think I've learned on my own, for myself as well, how to deal better with volunteers, how to really manage people well in a way which they would contribute the best and maximize their own potential, and where people would be happy. Yeah.
Do either of the vice presidents want to talk about that?
I guess just in terms of making life easier for for members working under the president or vice president is really valuing each member's time. On a logistical level, the president sets the vision, but I see the role of the vice president as setting the logistical matters. And I think really that's valuing the time whenever you have a meeting. The person who chairs the meeting has a clear agenda and to keep meetings as short as possible because no one really likes meetings. I mean, come on. I was in your bar, I know what long meetings are.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I agree that the vice president is helpful in administration. The speaker is the one who sets, the time and the length of the meetings. But I definitely do agree that student government should respect its members' time. Also, I think my character is suited towards working in groups like this where possibly it's a high-stress environment. If you know me, when everyone else gets stressed, I start cracking jokes. Maybe they're good, maybe they're not, but I think I perform very well under stress. And having the leadership team be very positive, I think will really impact how the rest of the council runs.
Cool, thanks. Any more questions from the floor? Right.
If not, we have more questions.
Yeah, we'll ask.
I do have a question. Sorry.
Sure.
What do you feel is the role of the government in hiring new faculty staff?
So just repeating it for the camera, what do you think the role of student government is in the hiring of new faculty and staff? Open?
Yeah,
Okay.
I bring this up because of in terms of faculty, mass calls for students to be a part of conversations, to talk about the members. I guess will student government help with that or not? What do you think your views on that?
I guess I see the role of student government in terms of hiring new faculty is really working with the existing structure, which is the committee for, I believe it is the Dean of Faculty Support Office, Dean of Faculty Student Advisory Committee. And I think it's really working with them in terms of what kind of information do they want to seek when presenting it, and the kind of information they need before they present it to the Dean of Faculty or the hiring committee. I think that's really the main part of it.
I think having a representative in the student the student committee will also be having a representative from the student government in the Dean and Faculty search committee will also be useful, so that at least when the student body wants to know what's going on with this search and hiring, we are able to have the answers prepared.
Yeah, and I agree with Timo. It's working with the existing structures, seeing who are the heads of these hiring bodies, and understanding what they're trying to achieve. If there's more student input that they need, if there are not enough students on these boards, then how can we go about getting more students involved in this process? But that's a really important question, Mr. O, because now with that line between, we're also hiring student staff positions very soon. And what does that mean? How can student government come in and help? Because I'm a part of the Res Life Task Force that is thinking about this new position. So student government is going to have a very important part to play in understanding the new people as part of our community in this RCs, and they are a very big, important part in this student body, student administration, and student government relationship.
Yeah, I just want to echo what everyone was saying, how the Dean of Faculty Advisory Committee on helping choose faculty is something that already exists, but as Savash says, I think student government could maybe provide a shout out to the student body to emphasize how important that is, and to maybe help with publicity if there's low student participation.
Okay. Another quick one. How many people are in the judiciary?
This is a question to check on your understanding of the Constitution. It will have a meeting later. Yeah.
Maybe, maybe not.
Anyone want to answer this?
Sorry.
It was in our
Sorry.
actionable
Maybe I'll take
minutes.
it.
Shoot.
So just to clarify, no one knows.
7.
7?
I said 6. I remember reading 6.
6?
I think 8.
8?
7.
The answer is 7.
7.
7.
Ooh, 6 plus Chief Justice is probably where you guys are going with that.
Maybe,
Thanks
maybe
for
not.
saying it. Appreciate it.
So we'll get back to that in a bit. But what question do you want to ask now?
Maybe image or challenge?
Go for it.
In your opinion, what are 2 key challenges that the student government faces, and how do you plan to resolve them? Okay, no, maybe 1 key challenge that the student government faces, and 1 challenge you will face as a president or vice president.
Sure. And while they're doing that, no new questions? No? We do have one. Okay. This one? Right. Cool. After this. Let them answer the challenges one. No. Wait. No, sorry, after. You're next. So one and then two.
Alright, I guess I will start. So a challenge that the government faces, I know we've talked a lot about the library issues. I'm not going to beat that. Forgot that idiom. Alright. So I think a challenge that student government faces in general is that of credibility. Because I know some upperclassmen, there was an article in the Octan, are a bit hesitant about the number of freshmen, yes, shout out, about the number of freshmen in student government. So I think as we work together as a body and improve our efficiency, that credibility will increase. And this relates to a challenge I will face as if I'm voted vice president. So when I entered in the Constitution Review Committee last year, I had no idea about anything or about how the school ran or who, I had no idea. But I was open to learn, and I think the freshmen on the student council are very open to learn. So I think part of my job as vice president is to help mentor all of the freshmen who are in student council, which is the majority of the student council, I believe, are freshmen, or about half, somewhere around there. So a challenge I would face as vice president is to mentor the freshmen and get them up to speed, and I know they're enthusiastic and eager to learn, and this will increase our credibility.
Similar, I think the challenge of student government is buy-in. Buy-in from the student body, and that is the political equity that we're seeing in front of us today. That is crucial to ensuring our success, but it's been a vicious cycle. We want to change that. We want to make that a positive. So we want to deliver, we want to get more people involved in this process. We want to show our results. We want to make this something that students want to do. And, but a part of that challenge is moving beyond this initial gratification. It's like doing, changing policy for the right now and thinking about student government in the big picture, Yale US in the big picture. And that's something I want to keep the focus on as president, the big picture of our decisions that we make today and right now. Because this school is going to be here longer than the 4 years that we are. And it will be. And another issue that internally, as my challenge as president, would be for, there are many first years on these committees that are going to be directors, deputy directors, and very important liaisons for us. And interest might change moving forward. In this 1 year, as a first year, your interest could be when we're deciding portfolios, it could be student life, and that could change to academic affairs. So how would we manage, how would we engage people in the roles that they have? How would we, if we would allow at all for this kind of movement between roles, how can we get roles to work together? What is constitutionally okay? That would be a challenge, but that's something that I am looking forward to working with because these fit into the personal development goals of my team. Yep.
I think all our visions are really aligned, and like, this is great. So I think one key challenge for the government is really to gain support from the student body. And I'd like to echo what both Subhash and Avery said. And I think I really agree that we need to have the support and legitimacy and credibility that the student government, the student body really trust us with the mandate that they've hopefully given us, and that they can really trust us to make the right decisions, the right moves, and the right sort of policy changes that we would like to. And I think one key challenge I foresee as president is similarly that the government is currently made up of a lot of freshies, and so getting them to really realize the context of perhaps certain decisions, certain key policies in school, I think that would be very important. So I see my role as a mentor and someone who can guide the government forward.
I think a key issue that the student government will face as a whole would probably be in terms of engagement. So I mean, it's related to credibility, but it's more so, I don't see the problem of credibility, but more so as a problem of how we, as he helped mention, how we can engage the student body to reduce political apathy, as well as realize how much agency they actually have in terms of being a part of the student body, as well as how much power the student government actually has. a problem or an issue that will probably I might face as vice president will probably be how to redefine as well as streamline the organization of student government in terms of the response we get when we try to build credibility as well as engage student body in terms of how whether the student government should be bigger, smaller, how much first years how much engagement or input should first years have in terms of the student governments moving forward in the future. So it's really the reorganization and redefinition of the roles as well as the structure.
Are there any things that the student government shouldn't be involved in terms of areas of interest? If so, what are they?
Alright, so just repeating it for the camera, are there any areas in which the student government shouldn't be interested in? Involved in, and if so, what are they?
So I think I've been quite vocal about this, is that student government should not interfere in situations or in roles where there are clear student organizations that are set up to deal with this. For example, I think inter-RC relations, there is RCQ for that, and I believe that is a very clear example where student government should not subsume their role or take over their role, but rather to support them as and when they request it, but if they don't require intervention, we're not going to do anything about it.
Okay.
So as a member of the Elm College Council, I firmly believe in residential college rights. I think that student government can help link the colleges together, but I think we should really value the integrity and autonomy of each individual residential college and not infringe upon the authority of the rector or the college councils. And so obviously this will take some knowledge of where the government should step in, but I think each college can develop its own culture. There were some arguments when the Constitution was being written in incorporating the college councils into the student government, and I argued very strongly against that, and I still hold that position that each individual RC identity is very important and we shouldn't mess with that.
So I think something just slightly different is that things which are going around the student body and which perhaps students do not see a need for the government to step in, for there to be like a unifying kind of voice to try to solve all the discord and the variety of opinions, then I think these are some issues which are very reactionary and which the student government does not necessarily need to take a stand on and should not either. Yeah.
Similar to what Avery was mentioning, I think how RCs spend their money, what they do to build RC identity, while it would be nice if student government was a part of that process. See, we wouldn't have this issue of overstepping boundaries if we involve ourselves in the process early. So I think student government shouldn't step in and decide like how RCs should go about building their identity, or how student groups should go about trying to do their programming. However, if we do also have like guidelines and code of conduct in our school, and if something is brought up to our attention and we need to step in, we as a committee will, or if we receive certain feedback that we should step in, then we as a committee will decide if this is appropriate to step in, and we'll do accordingly.
Thank you. Sarah?
Okay, so tonight I've heard a lot of buzzwords, and I think that it's important to also be grounded in reality and what one would actually do and give concrete examples. And so my question for you is, what would you do in your first 10 and 100 days of being president or vice president?
So for the camera, the question is, what would you do in your first 10 and then your first 100 days of being either president or vice president?
Hello? No. Okay. All right. First 10 days. I think that question is pretty easy. The vice president. I think the vice president can help the president divide the portfolio positions among directors and make that choice and organize the government, deal with the government handover that's constitutionally mandated. So that's what I would be doing in the first 10 days. The first 100 days, again, full credits to Anandita Sabharwal, also a member of the Student Council, for emphasizing the importance of this. But I would really like to take charge of implementing the Kingfisher mascot. And so that would involve talking to the administration, including public affairs, and coming up with an official, sketch of that bird that can then be used on student apparel and various Yale and US memorabilia.
Thank you.
I mean, does this even matter?
Okay, so I think for the first 10 days, what I will do is, in addition to dividing the portfolios, I will also meet personally, have one-on-one lunches, coffees, dinners with everyone in the student government, so meet each and every member, so that I can really understand what they see their role as, how can I best support them, and how can we as a government, what do they see the vision for the government, what do they see the vision for Yale and US, and how do they want to get there. And I think this also extends, so I will start this in 10 days, but it will also extend to 100 days because I think it will take a bit longer, is to meet everyone else who is like really crucial to the school. So meet everyone from the president's office, to the development, to site, to admissions, to infra, registry. Like just really introduce yourself to everyone, make yourself known to them, make yourself visible, so that they will know that if they have any issues, they as well can approach the student government. And we need to establish that rapport from day one, so that you can already have that relationship, and then you can just build on it as we go along. And so secondly, for the 100 days, I will also set up a vision for the student government, get everyone to be on board with that vision, get the buy-in from the student government, and hopefully from the student body as well. And the third one is to really have the different portfolios already working together, so already start managing the different portfolios, meeting up with people if they have problems, they have issues, and just getting the day-to-day operations in order.
I guess for me, the thing to focus on in the first 10 days would be definitely assigning portfolios to the various directors and various directorships, but also the big event coming up would be the UTown-wide Halloween event, and really to kickstart the coordination of and conceptualizing what will happen. In terms of the first 100 days, it would be tying up loose ends or whatever the old student government was working on that they might not have time to finish, as well as something that's close to my heart, which is beginning conversations with senior administration as well as public affairs and the student body of what college identity is in terms of paraphernalia as well as merchandise, which is something that I am quite passionate about since I started when I did whatever I did in sophomore year in terms of wines productions.
So 10 and 100, Sarah. 10 days, we would go through team building exercises first, because we don't know a lot of people in student government. I haven't worked with a lot of the first years here, so we would need to build rapport. We would need to build that, understanding that where we are, what we're working with, understanding our capacity is what we need to achieve in 10 days. Those relationships that were brought up earlier, those are relationships that I bring to the table, relationships that with Sai, with all these other, with Dean's Fellows, all these other important members of our community, by helping them, go about navigating those relationships too. From my experience, that is something that I will look forward to in those 10 days. Understanding how things are done in our school. That's the first 10 days. Also, one more thing, on the 10th day, it would be important to sit down with the group and see what everybody else wants to accomplish in the 100 days as student government, because it's crucial that we incorporate everyone's personal growth, personal journeys through government into our larger 100-day plan as a team. So that's what I'll do in the first 10 days. First 100 days, as Timo said, I'm looking forward to working with our entire group on Halloween. The last time we did it, it was a good outcome. I hope everyone enjoyed Halloween. I was a part of that process.
I was a ghost.
All right, we were a part of that process. I think Halloween is a great opportunity to foster NUS relations. The process of us getting to that Halloween event was tumultuous the last time with budgets, and Dave and I worked closely together on that. That was tough. It was not easy. Now, knowing that we have this team, it's in many ways a fresh start. How can we go about making this a streamlined process? And in 100 days also, portfolios should be set, teams should be working together, and we should have, as Yahoo brought up earlier, a mode of communication that works.
Okay, thank you very much to all the candidates. Everyone got down, the Octant for streaming this, and myself and Regina for asking lots of questions. Bye.